Do not worry, my creation. You will be avenged by one to carry on the name. After the crushing defeat of Dracocetus 1.0 at Vex's Fins, we at Parasair Genetic Tech have decided to revise said animal, and here is a brief breakdown. The revised Dracocetus that we at Parasair Genetic Tech has been a project we've been working on to combat the environmental damage that hybrids released have caused. After Vex took out Dracocetus 1.0, we decided to reimagine the dragon whale. And with funding from the US government and other countries surrounding the Gulf of Mexico/America. The genome contains Basilosaurus, bottlenose dolphin, arapaima, saltwater crocodile, prognathodon, and tarpon. First is methods of attack. This hybrid takes behaviors from Basilosaurus, prognathodon, and crocodile to be an ambush predator that aims for the head/other tactical attack points. Using its bone-crushing jaws with a anterior bite force of 19,725.4 newtons and a posterior bite force of 29,039.7 newtons, along with a combination of ramming, tail slaps, and the famous death roll from the crocodile. Now, defense. With the incorporation of arapaima scales and salty osteoderms, his armored skin will resist blunt force impacts along with puncture wounds by absorbing and distributing the impact of the blows. The flexible scales will not hinder his mobility in combat, nor cause drag. Now leading into our next category, speed. We used tarpon to slim down and give Dracocetus 2.0 a decent speed of around 38 miles per hour, which is plenty fast enough to ambush, along with swim circles around larger hybrids. Now for size of the animal. It will be 4 tons and 35 feet long, much smaller than the original. In this time, he won't be trolled to death, hopefully. One last thing, intelligence. The bottlenose dolphin not only helps with speed, but in intellect. Dracocetus 2.0 will have the brains to form creative plans for hunting, like stirring up sand, biting limbs used for combat/mobility, and going for vital areas. He will be a formidable foe for Vex and other hybrids, with the combination of his echolocation also given to him by the bottlenose dolphin. There is an interesting possibility with an encounter with Vex, since they do share oddly similar DNA structures in terms of their contributors that may allow for an interesting interaction that will not result in the death of either hybrid. But I'll save that after I run down some other hybrids that Dracocetus will fight. Dracocetus 2.0's first target was a hybrid codenamed Victoria that was causing problems for fishers by eating schooling fish en masse to keep up with the caloric demand of the creature's special abilities, like its regeneration from the axolotl. Dracocetus was guided to Victoria's location, where he stayed to the lower levels of the seafloor, so he could ambush the hybrid. Using his superior echolocation, Dracocetus saw through her camouflage and swiftly took her out by crushing her head with his jaws before Victoria could have any chance to retaliate. And this was something she could not regenerate from. Now, why Dracocetus wins this fight, personally in my opinion, is just Victoria's DNA of look-down fish isn't the best for camouflage. Also, using vampire bat echolocation in an underwater setting, not the best either, along with crow for intelligence, because crows are aerial animals, not aquatic animals. So that is why Dracocetus swiftly took out Victoria. Second target for Dracocetus was Spino-croc. That was harassing coastal towns and tourist destinations. Dracocetus 2.0 was lurking in the reef under Spino-croc as it was traveling to another seaside town. Assessing the situation, Draco knew that he had to cripple the hybrid before finishing it off. Draco first lunged and clamped onto the arm of Spino-croc, then with a crushing bite and a death roll, the limb was torn off. Then Dracocetus backed off, leaving the animal to panic and chase while wasting energy before another attack to the other arm. Spino-croc was crippled and panicked, then was swiftly taken out with a well-placed bite to the throat. Now, Dracocetus wins this fight pretty easily, while if Spino-croc did not get ambushed, it would have been a little bit harder for Dracocetus, given that, it had to deal with arms. So, its intelligence in fighting, giving that to detect, hey, that's a strong point of the hybrid, probably should take that out, also helped Dracocetus in this fight, given that majority of Spino-croc's genome isn't the most aquatic. But, so, Dracocetus wins that one with, I'd say, medium to possibly high diff. The final hybrid targeted by Dracocetus 2.0 was a titan called Fishy. The fight was a long one, but Dracocetus used his superior speed and agility to swim circles around Fishy, taking chunks out of the titan, slowly wearing it down. Mid-fight, Dracocetus did a maneuver similar to one Vex pulled off on the original Dracocetus. A bash to the head that discombobulated Fishy, that sealed its fate, to finish the beast off by ripping into its gills, leaving it to bleed out and die to lack of oxygen. Now, why Dracocetus wins this fight too is Fishy's not really the most agile hybrid. Like, don't get me wrong, if Dracocetus got caught, it'd be, wraps, but Dracocetus probably will not be caught. I mean, Marlin DNA is going to be a little bit of a problem, but I feel like Dracocetus could be swift enough and fast enough to rip chunks out of that sail to greatly diminish the maneuverability of Fishy. And I'd say this is probably the most difficult fight out of the three that Dracocetus will have. Now onto the main thing that you've all probably been waiting for. Dracocetus versus Vex. Absolute cinema. Peak even. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It's a very 50-50 fight, but I am unfortunately leaning towards Vex instead of my own hybrid, which is kind of surprising, given, it's my hybrid. You think I'd be leaning to my hybrid, but no. Just given Vex's the lore video. taking on a whole pod of sperm whales. What? That don't make no sense. Anyways, but I feel like if Dracocetus were to pull off a successful ambush, it would be Raps for Vex. It'd be pretty hard to get him off her face. And with a similar bite force to hers and skull structure, given Prognathodon and Basilosaurus both being able to puncture their own species' skull, which Vex uses Tylosaurus, which is very similar to Prog, and Prog has a more designed teeth for puncturing bone than Tylosaurus, so I feel that would give him an edge in biting. But yeah, overall, when it comes to a fight, Vex probably wins 50% of the time, while Dracocetus wins 50% of the other. But an interesting prospect that I've kind of unintentionally designed Dracocetus to be able to is kind of have a symbiotic relationship with Vex, or at least a respect for Vex, given that both have a very similar body plan and a very similar gene contributors, given Dolphin, Prognathodon, Basilosaurus, and in the case of Vex, Orca, Beluga, and Tylosaurus. Now, given cetaceans, this is a rare thing for cetaceans to do, but it's been cited enough, actually helping cetaceans of other species, like false killer whales hunting with dolphins, a rare case of an orca adopting a pilot whale calf, and etc., especially humpbacks. Those things help a whole lot of things. But I do feel like an encounter, a non-lethal one, would be like this. Vex and her pod pull up in the Gulf of Mexico, and Dracocetus is there. Now, unlike all the other hybrids that were immediately aggressive to Vex, Dracocetus, being more not trained as a weapon like Vex, but more trained as a predator, as an animal, would be cautious, but not aggressive. Given that Vex looks very similar to him, and he looks very similar to Vex, Vex probably would be curious, like, it looks like me, but isn't quite like me. Now, they probably wouldn't be able to communicate verbally very well, but I feel like in terms of body language, they could be able to read each other very well, given the similar body plan. And Dracocetus being non-aggressive, it could go something like Dracocetus will, the Vex pod can drive prey to where Dracocetus is, he delivers a swift ambush, and they can share, or they could just respectfully just stay out of each other's way. That's the most likely one, where they respectfully stay out of each other's way, given these are supposedly animals. They're not like fictional bloodthirsty creatures. Except for the one hybrid part of the Vex family tree that I think Dracocetus would be having the most odd interaction with is Vorn, or as I like to call him, King Von. Yeah, a little joke that I came up with, but well, this is the end of the video. I really do hope y'all enjoy it, and I hope this does start a new chapter in the hybrid war. One where it's more of everybody's hybrid versus each other. And I'm really proud of Dracocetus, and I do hope it does fulfill the goal of starting this new frontier with hybrid war. And I'd like to thank Slides on Instagram, along with Alvin on Instagram, for making the thumbnail and the little comic at the beginning. Also, Slides is the one who made the thumbnail for the original Dracocetus. But both of them really helped a whole lot. It really was a good thing to have with them. Now that the video's over, I'd like to thank y'all for watching, and see y'all later. That one Paraceratherium signing out.